Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you a fair warning now. I'm about to trigger the shit out of folks, and I'm about to fucking yell and holler and scream, so take your earphones out, unplug your earphones, plug in a speaker, and if you can't do that, then I want you to take your earphone and hold it away from your head when you start to see me go a little bit red in the face. You heard me? Because I'm about to get loud. Some things need to be said. And I got an opinion because, you know, I am an asshole. So just like everybody, I got one. Y'all got me madder than a motherfucking red hen here. Who is this dumbass that is sitting there talking as if they know a fucking thing about people and guns and criminals and all that shit? You know, sitting there saying, well, we need to ban AR-15s. No. Well, who's a bone we picking? Well, Joe, today we're going to be choosing violence, brother, because we're picking a bone over the dumbass that was sitting there. He's a politician in Maine. It's so fucking unimportant to me that I didn't even glean his name. It was just the fact of what he fucking said. Because of how fucking retarded this shit is, I didn't even want to know the motherfucker's name. He's all over the news right now. He's just every fucking where, sitting there blabbing his fucking chops off. Oh, we need to ban these guns because we can never allow for this thing to happen again. And I'm to blame because I allow people to have these guns. No, motherfucker, you do not allow shit. You do not allow us to fucking do a goddamn thing. You simply just happen to have an office that's really plush and nice and is paid for by we the motherfucking people. So get off of your fucking high horse. No, your ban is not going to go okay. It's going to go over like fucking shit in a snowstorm. It's going to happen about as good as a fucking turd in a twister. Y'all are just stupid, son. And this is fucking pissing me the motherfucker off. Like, I got a goddamn bone to pick. Let me says it this way. I got a radical fucking idea. Arm everybody. And when I says arm everybody, I mean you, the United States fucking government that wants to go and spend billions of motherfucking dollars, trillions of motherfucking dollars on military equipment to send it to our fucking enemies. How's about you do this? Get up off your fucking hunkers, go around door to door, and hand out bog standard basic AR-15s to every single human being out there in the United States. Every last one of us. It doesn't matter if you're a felon or freeman, this is your gun. No fucking, no serial number, no nothing, just every single American citizen. You just verify that they have a fucking an ID that makes them an American citizen. You verify that they are, in fact, an American citizen through your network, and then you hand them a fucking gun. Here you go, sir. Have a nice day. Here you go, ma'am. Have a nice day. Here you go, they, them. Have a nice day, I guess. I trying to be inclusive, but seriously, it's shit like that that's actually causing this turmoil. You know, that's the basis problem. But, you know, no. We got to worry about the fucking guns. We got to worry about look, I'll point it out this way. You arm every single fucking American citizen, there will not be not one dumbass out there because of one simple thing. And I want to point it out to you. You motherfuckers can sit there and you can watch this movie about an individual who is an assassin, and his mainstay of his fucking entire existence is repeated throughout the series of the movies. Rules and consequences. Did I fucking stutter? Rules and consequences. The important part of all of that, otherwise people just don't give a fuck about the rules because they're more just suggestions and guidelines than actual rules. Pardon me while I go ahead and I tamp down some coffee, get me some coffee here because I'm madder than fuck. I need to get me a coffee and then we'll have a cigarette and all that fun shit and have a fucking chillax and whatnot. My point remains that these motherfuckers, they want to sit there and ban something that they have fucking all the goddamn monkey fuck all around them. But I'll tell you this right now, they don't want you to have one. Now tell me something real quick. Why would any government want to take away guns from their people? I mean, I mentioned this dozens of fucking times before, but I think it bears repeating now. To quote Thomas Jefferson, the only time that a government would reduce its own people of arms is if they were going to do something there that they would then shoot them for. So it begs and bears repeating oftentimes. There is no fucking reason to be disarming American citizens, especially not the legal folks. But, you know, let's just fucking decriminalize it and then make it so that it's illegal for you to do these actions that go and harm people, you know, with the caveat of if you're stopping a crime from being committed, it's all okay. Now, on the flip side of it, no politician may be armed. No politician may have any escort, security, what have you. I guarantee you there will not be a politician in fucking Congress within a day. Do you know why? Because I'll tell you right now, the reason why they would not be in Congress after that day is because they are fucking terrified little pussies that could not fucking stand up for themselves. They need us, the guys who stood up to the bullies, to sit there and say, you know what? No. Take a step back, sir. You need to take a step back. Otherwise, I'm going to actually have to use more force. Please just step back or I will hurt you. You know, shit like that. And they make it so that we have to warn the motherfucker. I mean, come on, hold on a second. It's common sense. You don't get that fucking close with a goddamn weapon in your hand. You just fucking, you don't, okay? You don't get that close to a politician with a weapon in your hand. You could do that from long fucking range. So what the fuck is the point of these security teams? I'll tell you why. It's so that you cannot talk directly to your representative. How's about that for a revelation? Did you know that 150 years ago, the representative that refused to meet with their constituency on an actual physical grounds, meaning that they were standing there talking to them face to face, not over the phone, not through a telegraph wire or some shit like that, or with, you know, a newspaper. No, they actually had to meet their constituency out in public. Make you wonder, won't it? Why don't they do that now? Security reasons. They're afraid of assassination. They're afraid of retaliation. Why would your own government be afraid of retaliation in the United States, where they're supposed to be representative of the people? There's a whole lot of factor going on here today. And before you guys say, oh, well, you shouldn't be eating sugar, that stuff's not good for you. Heads up. I'm hypoglycemic. I have to eat sugar. Y'all diabetic motherfuckers probably know about that one too. Yes, I actually have to eat sugar. It's one of those, if I don't eat sugar in my diet, I can end up going into a hypoglycemic coma, which causes a diabetic resurgence. And if you don't know what that is, you've never dealt with diabetes or hypoglycemia. I have to keep my blood sugar up, or I will pass the fuck out and literally go into a comatose sleep that ends up in me dying. It's crazy. But it's kind of like being a diabetic who's taking too much insulin. My pancreas creates way too much insulin on a daily basis. So this is what I'm reduced to having to do. I got to eat lots and lots of sugar. See, folks think that, oh, well, it's unhealthy to eat that much sugar. It depends on your body. Which is why I do have a problem with people trying to tell me what the fuck I'm supposed to do. You know? This is why I don't like listening to my government when they tell me, well, you don't need guns because those are dangerous. Yeah, well, motherfucker, I shouldn't be, you know, I don't need to fucking be drinking milk either because it makes me fart like fucking crazy. But guess what? I still do because I like it and because I enjoy it and because milk makes your bones fucking strong. And when you're hypoglycemic, you also shed calcium. Milk. Yeah, by the way, I am breaking all of the fucking health rules right now. But you know what the difference is? I'm probably a lot healthier than a lot of fucking nutritionists or any of that shit. I take really good care of myself. Funny as how it goes, but it's true. So when I says that, you know, I carry a gun every single fucking day of my life, in almost every single zone that I go to, I want to make it very clear. I don't give a fuck how dangerous it is. As a matter of fact, I'm kind of happy it is. Because if it's not dangerous, then why the fuck am I doing it again? Aish, do the chill. Chill. Oh boy. You see? This is how you negate dangers. Control. Now, the thing is that the government is not supposed to control physical things. They're supposed to control your mind. Governo mentis, from the Greek governo and the Latin mentus, meaning control of the mind. Government. I keep on bringing that up, but it's like I said, it bears fucking repeating. Because apparently people don't get this through their thick fucking skulls. This is not going to shoot anybody. All by its own little lonesome, it can't do a damn thing. And I've got a lot to throw out there about fucking some of the bullshit that's been spread recently. I've been off the interwebs and just kind of sitting back and letting people talk and whatnot. And I got a fucking bone to pick, son, let me tell you. So without further ado, let me just go ahead and tip shit on its side. Yeah. And I'm going to point some things out real quick before I get into my relaxation point, because otherwise I'm going to have a fucking shit kniff and have a heart attack. So let's get over the hardcore shit first, and then I can relax. Very simply, this is a long barrel pistol. It's a black powder pistol. It's a revolver. Now, recently, there was a case where a individual who was witnessing specifically as a expert witness stated that an AR-15 is about 6 to 7 pounds and therefore is unwieldy without two hands. This is 6 pounds 8 ounces. Unwieldy? A little bit. Can I control it to a point where it's not going to hurt anybody unless I want it to? Yes. Is it impossible for me to use this at the same time as I'm using a cell phone? Well, I don't know, sir. How do you think it's going to go? This is my point. The gun is not dangerous. The people who are having these opinions about who should and should not have guns, the people who have these opinions about whether or not a gun is dangerous, these are the actual danger factors in our society. Because of them, individuals who would otherwise be peaceable in their lives, in their actions, in their everyday being, like myself included, when I go into town, I'm not going around waving around my gun going, I'm going to go shoot up the fucking thing. Yeah, we're not doing that shit. But at the same time, have you ever seen me with an AR-15? I mean, let's be very clear. I'm kind of open about what I have as an individual. I like to show off what goods I have because honestly, it's an aid. It actually is. It shows you to be a slightly harder target, which makes it so that people who are on the interweb sitting there trolling to try and intimidate you and things like that, they're less likely to, because they see you have these implements, they see you have these abilities, they see you have this knowledge, and they go, wait, this is not somebody to play around with or to try and goof around with like that. You know, let's just sit here behind our keyboard where it's safe. Because when they come to my doorstep, they're looking for trouble and they're going to find it. The difference is I don't go out looking for that trouble. Matter of fact, most of the time when I'm out about on the freaking town, the only time that my gun is even in my hand is as I step out of my truck. I take my gun out of the truck holster, stand up, and put the gun in my hip holster. That is all the time that gun is ever out in my hand. The reason why I'm pulling it out to sit down is because it's uncomfortable to sit with this gun on. That's it. Otherwise, it'd still be on my person, even in the truck. That way I don't have to have it in my hand when I step out of the vehicle. This is a 12-inch long barrel, man. You sit in the freaking car seat with that motherfucker hanging off your ass. I want to see you try. You won't be able to latch your fucking seatbelt. This is my point. All right? This is a revolver. This is what yonder dumbass in the freaking, that was the expert witness. Yeah, he's a fucking drip under pressure, all right. The expert witness said was what you should be carrying as an American in your own home or about your person in everyday life is a revolver with magnum capabilities. I want to fucking just hit this motherfucker over the head with the butt of this motherfucker like, wake the fuck up, you dumb son of a bitch. That's what I want to do, because this is stupid. It is fucking retarded that you would even have that kind of stupidity come out of your mouth. Let's be clear, anybody who has ever handled a gun in their entire fucking lives, and it doesn't have to be anything special. It could be a fucking little Jennings 22 fucking automatic pistol. Just a little tiny fucking Saturday night special. They know better than to go running around going, fuck you, man. Because they're going to get their ass shot. They know better than to look down the fucking barrel of that motherfucker because there's probably a bullet in it. Duh. Semi-automatics are better than revolvers. If you have something messed up on a revolver, it takes more time to fix that than it does in a semi-automatic. Let's be plain and clear. Revolvers, I believe, are more reliable than a semi-automatic, because if you have a catastrophic malfunction on a revolver, normally that means that the side of the cylinder got blown out or the top of the cylinder got blown out. So now if you can manipulate this over, you still have another round and a barrel that works. Whereas do that with a semi-automatic, you might as well chuck it at the motherfucker because it's no good anymore. The chamber is in the barrel. It's not like a revolver with a forcing cone. That is the argument that I would make if I was saying, okay, revolvers are a better option than a semi-automatic. Is for that reason I would choose a revolver over a semi-auto. Now, why would I choose a semi-auto over a revolver? More ammunition capacity, higher rate of fire, more often than not more accurate, more often than not cheaper. So again, it comes down to this retard who is supposed to be an expert witness is a fucking idiot. And every time that I've ever seen anything come out of Washington about guns, and I mean anything, this includes Republicans, this includes fucking independents, this includes anybody that opens their fucking mouth about a gun in fucking period in Central, do not know what the fuck they are talking about, because they handle a firearm less than they handle their own cock. Basically, they don't understand the concept of keep your booger hook off the bang switch. Which is why I have such a fucking problem with any government agency having any kind of regulatory aspect or capability over average citizens, regular Joes having firearms. And I mean any fucking average Joe. I mean felon, free man, fucking what the fuck ever. Because let's be clear about this. If the felons are all armed and the freemen are all armed, and say somebody wants to go and think that, oh, well, I'm a hard ass, I got a gun, I'm gonna go and fucking commit a felony. Guess what? Every fucking buddy around you is armed too. And they're not putting up with your shit. So since everybody around you is armed and they're not putting up with your shit, are you going to go do that stupid shit? Or are you going to try and find a different, possibly more healthy avenue of procuring monetary gain in order to then therefore be able to seek ease of, operation and whatnot? I mean, survivability in that situation is kind of zero. So when your survivability is a fucking goose egg, do you go and you commit that crime then? No. You'd have to be stupid. Either that or you'd be having to be paid a fuck ton of money and your family's going to be taken care of for the rest of their lives. Let's be clear about it. Because the reality of the situation is, it's the only reason why people go and do those kind of measures in the first place is desperation. When somebody is that desperate that they're going to go and commit a crime, you're not stopping them by taking the firearm out of the equation, especially not taking the firearm away from the people who are not committing the crimes. What you're doing is making it easier for them. Because the reality of it is if they don't have a gun and nobody else has a gun, guess what? Now they could pick up a rock. And that rock is just as fucking deadly as that 45 ACP or that fucking 9mm or that fucking 22 long rifle or that fucking 4440 or whatever the fuck you want to say, or 223 or whatever. That rock is just as fucking deadly if it hits right goddamn there. So do tell. The fuck are you doing with all of this extra special, we're going to stop these guns from getting out there to the public and this, that, and the other, when the fucking criminals, the ones who do not follow the law by definition, don't care about you making a law about guns because it's a law. And by definition, they break the law. Duh. All right, now. Yes, I'm putting my gun in my holster while I'm sitting down. again, this is really fucking uncomfortable, but as it stands, now I'm going to be partaking in some relaxation medications. So I'm not going to be handling my pistol anymore. I keep it there because the situation may arise where I may have a bear come in the backyard, or I may have a freaking coyote jump the fence or something. And I got a dog in the backyard. I got chickens over here. I still have to defend them. I have air guns behind me. Okay, those are air rifles. This can take down a coyote, but it can't stop a bear. It can't stop a puma. And both of those would actually try to take my dog. So, hence the reason why I actually have not a modern firearm, but a firearm. Specifically is for that. So yeah, as I said, I'm going to be taking some medications to help me calm the fuck down, because if I don't, I'm going to end up having a fucking stress-induced heart attack. Because these motherfuckers have got me so goddamn hot that I literally want to come through this motherfucking goddamn cell phone and snatch a motherfucker up by the short and curlies and ask them what the fuck they did wrong and why did they do it. So it's probably a good idea that I just sit back and take some mind-altering substances, right? Let me point out to you how unlawful that particular law is, by the by. Written in 1968 in response to the increase in marijuana use across the United States due to the flower power movement and all that, and the hippies and whatnot. The pharmaceuticals and reduction of firearms use clause to the FFA, which was passed in 68. It was written back in 63 because of the whole Kennedy shooting. It was written before that, but here, let's have this extra special, already built up. But anyways, written before 63, it was proposed in 63, it was passed in 68. The FFA, Felons and Firearms Act. Okay, it's not it is not the farmers and whatnot. The Fair Farming Association. That's not the same fucking thing. Okay, let's be clear. The FFA in the United States, specifically, not inclusive of the FDA, which is the Food and Drug Administration. The FFA is the Felons and Firearms Act of 1968, which reduces the ability of anybody who is on strong pharmaceuticals with any mind-altering effects, the capability of any individual to own, purchase, or operate a modern cartridge-feeding firearm without particular background check, and the purchase of said firearms through mail services, the postal services. Those are the three things that were made fully illegal by that. Secondarily, but also most importantly to the title, is that felons could not purchase a firearm, nor could they purchase any firearm. Felons could not purchase any modern firearm of a cartridge-feeding variety other than a shotgun, which is pretty fucking stupid if you ask me. Now, the NFA, on the other hand, stopped us from having machine guns. It's pretty fucking stupid, by the way. A machine gun is low accuracy. It's literally just ride the lightning and have fun. It's a vehicle's motor, an open vehicle's motor cylinder with a repeating loader for the piston, is what it really is. It's just a motor with a discardable piston. Because that's what you're getting out of it. It just, you're not getting any kind of fucking accuracy out of that motherfucker. You're getting backwards thrust. So the stupidity of it is that why would you fucking ever in God's green earth even want a machine gun for anything other than squad tactics, in a military situation? Most Americans I know, while they want to turn around and, they want to go and have a machine gun, go shoot it off because it'd be fun to fucking expend that many rounds, that's not their everyday want. That's not their everyday joy. They wouldn't just go and have a fucking, if they had, let me put it this way. If they had an AR platform, say the M4 platform with the fun switch on the side, they would probably keep it on semi-automatic for most of the time, unless they're sitting at the fucking range and mag dumping into a pile of trash for the fucking shits and gigglies of it. Or, for that matter, somebody is shooting at them and they want to keep their heads down. Either or, those are the only situations you use full auto in. So, what's the point? That's why I could kind of, okay, whatever, machine guns, but still, people should have machine guns. They should be allowed to have machine guns. But what's more so important than, full automatic fire is just the fact that it is all on its face contra-constitutional. Every last bit of it. All of this gun control legislation, even the argument for it, is an act of constitutional treason. And there you go. So anyways, time for this old Joe to relax, because otherwise I'm gonna fucking, you could see I'm starting to stutter. I got pressure on my heart. Give me 5 minutes. Fucking StreamYard trying to just snatch up my fucking camera right there. You know what? I tell you what, StreamYard. Let's just do something like this. There we go, assholes. So anyways, as I was saying, I do not appreciate that our government would turn around and say that they need to do this shit. All of it on its face is unlawful. It is, what's the best way to put it? It is a very dastardly and underhanded method for attacking an individual's right to be free, their right to liberty, their right to pursuit of happiness, and most of all, their right to life. It is a direct attack against that. It is a threat against that. Because you do not dictate anymore whether or not you are the one who defends and keeps your life safe. You have to rely on others to do that. Now, I've said it before, but I guess it bears repeating. It takes, on average, 20 minutes for emergency responders to be able to get from their location to your house. Why is that? Because most emergency responders are staggered throughout a city in order to be within 20 minutes of any one location. Okay? But that's by design. To be within 20 minutes of any one location. That's why it's on average 20 minutes to get there. Because there are some locations that are outside of that reach. And there are instances where traffic, there's say, the first responder had a bad bout of diarrhea or whatever, so they had to call in a different ambulance or what have you, okay? There are instances where first responders cannot show up within that 20 minutes. Now, that being said, the worst part of it is yet to come. Because while a first response from professionals is probably 20 minutes or more away, 98% of all firearms-related shootings in the United States are over within the span of 20 seconds or less. That's not exaggeration, folks. 3 shots, 3 feet. How fast can you pop off 3 rounds? At 3 feet. How accurately can you pop off 3 rounds at 3 feet? And you tell me whether or not that is seconds versus minutes. Because I'll be very clear. When the police are only minutes away, it's the seconds that count. It doesn't matter if an ambulance gets to your house in 20 minutes if you're dead in 10 seconds. That's why I said, Rip, that on average, a shooting is over in 20 seconds. A standard shooting is over in 20 seconds or less. It does not take much time to pull a gun and fire. But what the real scary, abrupt thing of it is that you could be sitting there bleeding out for the next 20 minutes and the cops are coming, but you don't know if they're going to get there to you. You realize I got stabbed in the chest and it took the fucking ambulance 20 minutes to get to that house. I bled out in that front yard. In the front fucking yard. 1 liter of blood externally, 5 liters of blood internally because I was holding it in. I should be dead. And I was stabbed because I was not allowed at the time to have a firearm because my brother was on felony probation. I wasn't on probation. I wasn't unlawful to have a firearm at the time. But my brother was, so I couldn't have it in his house. So do tell. What good is the Felons and Firearms Act? If you ask me, it does absolutely no good. In fact, it's a stop against people who would put their lives on the line in a moment's notice to try and protect others. Most of the time, when it comes down to felonies, the people who get charged were charged with a felony on frivolous or contra-founded grounds. In other words, there's no reason they should have ever caught a felony charge. There's no reason they should ever have to deal with that. But instead, for the rest of their lives, they can never purchase a modern firearm. Even though the most that they fucking got in trouble for was maybe they smoked pot a little bit to deal with their anxiety. And they carried a firearm because they lived in the fucking woods of Alaska, for fuck's sake, or something similar. You know, I mean, that should be unlawful to do to an American citizen, even in the city, in my opinion. But you know, I digress. I'm talking more than just about red flag laws, Alice. I'm talking about like this bullshit of they're proposing red flag laws in Maine after they found out that somebody who is actually capable of utilizing a firearm and in some proficiency has to be taken down by his own fucking hand. That's what pisses me off. They made it so it's so difficult to carry a firearm that nobody wants to carry a firearm even though it's legal in that state. And then they turn around when the dude offs himself rather than gets offed by somebody who's fucking in the fucking instance. Oh my God, it makes me madder than fucker. I'm madder than all. I'm tongue tangulated here. I'm gonna take a toke, y'all. Hold your wish for a sec. Oh, there we go. I needed a little bit of my inhaler. Because if I didn't, I was going to lose my shit. Go fucking straight up Yosemite Sam on motherfuckers. What in the tarnation, you highfalutin hop talk motherfucker? Yeah, well, that should have been straight out the gate, Alice. This is my point. Every time that it gets proposed, the person who proposes it by actual American law should be arrested on the spot for treason. But what can I say? Our country is full of nothing but crybabies and no children in the room at this point. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pussies. This country is full of fucking pussies. So damn scared of their own freaking shadow, they would rather go disarmed and afraid into the maw of death than defend themselves and their lives up to the bloody end. That's what I have a fucking issue with. See, I wasn't born into a nation of cowards, but it has become one over my lifetime. What happened to such a glorious warrior society that we have given up the very foundation of what makes us a great country? I mean, if you ask any other country, anybody from any other country, why is America such a great place? A lot of the time you get this, oh, well, it's because of their freedoms, their liberty that they're allowed to have by their constitution and all that. But if you ask somebody who's from a country where gun control is so fucking insane that, it makes American gun control look like a joke, then I'll tell you this. Their only response will be their Second Amendment. That's literally, and they know it, it's the only thing that keeps us free. It has nothing to do with our government, nothing to do with our military, even though, don't get me wrong, I love our military. All at the same point, it has nothing to fucking do with our military, and it has everything to do with you and me. We are the reason for the freedom. American citizens, individuals, Joe Blow with his freaking flintlock musket rifle going out and popping squirrels and just overheard the old redcoats talking about how they were going to go and burn down Charleston or some shit and decided, okay, well, we're not having that. That's my point. We can talk all this good mess about gun control all we want, but when it really comes down to the nitty gritty, The Second Amendment makes that a crime. To even suggest gun control is a crime. It's an infringement. Quite literally, it is. It says shall not be infringed. It is law that you may not make any inroads against. In the legalese, in the plain English, it's very fucking self-declarative. Shall not be infringed. You may not cross the border that we have placed. The border is the Constitution of the United States and the amendments added to it because of the Bill of Rights. It is non-negotiable. It is not allowed to be changed. It is unlawful to change it. I didn't notice how I didn't say illegal to change it. No, they could fucking legalize. If they could legalize gay sex in public, they can legalize gun confiscation and all that crap. My point remains that it's unlawful. The law is that Constitution, which nothing that any smaller ordinance may negate in any way. It may not stand against it. It's in every state constitution. If you look through your state constitution, somewhere in your state constitution it says, no law made by the state legislature may directly conflict with the United States Constitution. This is even in California. The Second Amendment to the California Constitution. Or no, sorry, the Fourth Amendment to the California Constitution. My bad. The Fourth Amendment to the California Constitution. No law by the state legislature of California may directly negate or influence against the rights and privileges thereby laid down in the United States Constitution circa 1791. That is the actual freaking text. That is the Second Amendment text. Or sorry, the Fourth Amendment text of the California Constitution. The most communist state in the United States of America. My question is, why has not Gavin Newsom been arrested on charges of treason? Why have none of these politicians been outright ousted on charges of treason? It's because y'all are letting it do it. You're letting it happen. Either that or you are aiding in it happening. You know, we could protest all fucking day. We could talk about how great the United States is all fucking day long. We can piss, moan, and cut a rug about whether or not, you know, we're the greatest in this, that, and the other. But I'm going to point something out to you. Switzerland makes it so that every single adult, not adult male, adult, has to do a mandatory, I believe it's 3 years service in the armed forces, and then must for the rest of their lives be armed and have arms and ammunition within the confines of their home. This is the most neutral fucking country on the face of the earth, has never fought a fucking single war in the last 200 years. And you want to tell me that no gun control versus what we've got here in the United States, gun control, is a bad idea. When Switzerland is the most neutral fucking country in the world, has the least amount of fucking gun violence, to be fucking clear, and happens to also be really good at what they do. They deter invasion by all means. They're a landlocked country, for fuck's sake, and they don't have the greatest air force out there. In fact, they don't even have the greatest air force in their general region. So, how is it that Switzerland has never been fucking invaded in the last 200 and some odd years, and has not gone and invaded anyone in the last 200 and some odd years, and yet has the fucking highest armed population outside of the United States? Guns per capita, guns per individual in the world. Tell me how that's physically possible, unless reality is exactly the opposite of what you hear in the politicians' mouths. I've always said it, you can always tell a politician's lying, their lips are moving. Question is how many of us are actually listening? Now, last time I checked, and I did check the actual the list of laws, the constitutional code and whatnot. It is unlawful for any officer of a elevated office, being that of governorship or higher, within the United States, to have upon or about their person any long gun, as it is their station to be representative of the United States. If that's the fucking case, how many of these politicians have been committing gun crimes and they're sitting there talking about gun crime? Again, this is the problem. The problem isn't the people. The problem isn't people having guns. The problem isn't even freaking teenagers having guns or violent felons who have gotten out of prison, done their time, and tried to better their lives having guns. There's nothing about them that have done any kind of fucking real problems there. No. We're talking the actual fucking politicians have committed gun crimes. The only gun crimes in the United States, according to the Constitution and the Constitutional Code. I mean, what the fuck, people? What is with this ass backwards clown world? What, are we a bunch of retards or something? Oh, let me fix that. There. So now, the question remains. Who's the criminal? The man who goes and builds his own fucking gun in his backyard, doesn't put any kind of registration on it or anything like that, doesn't put any numbers on it or anything like that, builds full scale AR-15, spring-loaded magazines, 30-round box mags, builds upper, lower, all that fun shit, has the fun switch on it and all that shit. Okay, has all the extras, collapsible stock and all that. Builds that by himself with, milling machine and a couple of different fixers and whatnot, 3D printer and a couple things like that. But doesn't put on all this extra special tacky bullshit. Or the fella who happens to be a governor who stands there with the same gun in his hands and says, we need to stop people having these. Because these are what are causing the trauma. These are what are causing the problems. Which one's committed a crime? Because in the reality of things, it's not Joe Blow who built the gun in his backyard. It's the politician saying that Joe Blow who built the gun in his backyard needs to be arrested for doing that. It's actually the case. You can look it up. I'm not doing the fucking research for you assholes. Go do it yourself. This is the reality of it. As an American citizen, especially a male above the age of 18 and beneath the age of 65, you are legally obligated to be armed. I don't know if you knew that, but, you know, there it is. It's actually in the Constitution. It's in the definitions of the militia, in the Constitution, and in the Federalist Papers, which is the foundation for the Constitution. Anyways, the point is, this stuff already exists. The fix-its for all of these problems already exist. But people are so easy to manipulate through their fifis that they get out of their minds and go, oh, well, we gotta. You don't gotta do shit except for do your research. Research. Very simple. Take those thumbs that you like using so much. Type in special keywords into Spoogle Goo, and they will go and take you to where you need to go. For those of you who don't know, Spoogle Goo is the way that I say Google, because they are basically just a bunch of retards anyways, but I digress. Work around that, you know. You can use Google, use Bing, it doesn't matter. Use whatever. You'll get all sorts of different freaking results, whatever, what have you, but I don't care. It's the matter of once you find it, you can't unsee it. It's one of those things like, holy, profound, fuck, holy. Where in the world did this shit go when I needed it the most? When I was sitting there in a courtroom having to defend myself for literally just going and trying to stop somebody from committing a crime. I mean, where the fuck was this shit? Because I wouldn't be a fucking felon. I'd be a hero, damn it. Well, what the fuck? You know, it's shit like that. It just blows my mind. How stupid can you be to allow the government to tell you what is and what isn't? You need to go out there and research for yourself. And when I say research for yourself, there is the information to be found. You just have to really be willing to do the fucking footwork, especially at this point when they're going out there and burning fucking books at colleges. Or throwing them in dumpsters, for fuck's sake, at libraries. This is happening while you fucking sit here and watch this bullshit mass media approach of let's flood the media with nothing more than shooting here and warfare here and shooting this and that and the other, while they quickly tweak things so it doesn't look like what it actually is. It's a psychological operation. It's always been one. It's what I keep on coming back to, and I have to, because at this point I don't have another choice. It used to be that it was not a psychological operation. It's just, you know, some people are paranoid, and then some people are actually onto something that have, but, you know, don't have all facts. No, now it's 100%. They went from trying to be, you know, light-handed but backhanded to being full-blown fucking psychological operation. And it's been this way for at least a decade. at least a decade, where they've gone into this fucking full-blown psychological operation. And, you know, this is why I do this on the live streams, because you can't really talk about this shit in the span of 30 minutes or whatever, or 20 minutes, or 10 minutes, or 5 minutes that you would get to make a normal-ish video. In order to actually get this point across, you got to go through the motions of it, man. I mean, I've made dozens of videos on this. I mean, I've even taken and broken it down with, you know, as simple as going on the computer and then getting these other, you know, things pulled up and whatnot. I'm just pointing out that there is some information that no longer exists on the interwebs because they've deleted it all. There's some information that doesn't exist in the library and in the public sphere anymore because they deleted it all. And it's only those who have private libraries that even have this knowledge anymore. This is the reason why my dad used to go and troll the shit out of college parking lots and go and flip their dumpsters up, because he knew from a child that they were doing this shit. That they would go and they'd take the old books that, oh, well, you know, this is last year's, or you know, this, that, or the other, and toss them into the fucking dumpster. And then in with the next. Instead of this, like when we were in grade school, if you remember, you had some books that were like 20, 30 fucking years old. You know, the math books hardly changed over the years. You had to pay for them, sure, but most of the time you got them used, and they had this fucking, you know, the math books had all the, like, these kids were sitting there writing shit in it long before you ever got your hands on it, and, you know, like doing cheat sheets and shit. And the cheat sheets weren't, they weren't, a lot of the time they were wrong. But, you know, kids just writing in the fucking, in the books, and we'd get them later, and then, you know, you'd see all this written down shit, and you're like, this is an old book, you know. This book's been around for a while. We've been using this for a while, sort of thing. Nowadays, it's a brand spanking new textbook every fucking year. Nowadays, it's a brand new set of digital downloads every year instead of a textbook or a stack of textbooks. You see how easily that's manipulated now? They don't have to throw the books away anymore. The books that they're throwing away now are archived. That's all stuff that they had stuck down in the archives. It's been there for years while they were cataloging it all online. In some backup, you know, freaking way in the, you know, obscure server under this special code that you wouldn't know to type into the damn thing, so you could never find it. They don't use the fucking Dewey Decimal System anymore. I don't know what the fuck they're using now, but it's just like, wow. You know, you can't, even somebody who has experience with libraries can't find all the books that there used to be in a library. You know that? I went to Torrance Public Library a few years back, just for shits and gigglies, to see what they had. The shelves were fucking empty. This is a library that just 15 years prior I had walked into, and it was stacked to the fucking rafters with books. Books. There were a couple of computers, but there were books to the rafters. Paper. Inside a cardboard, hard binding books. when I asked if, they had when the book would come back to the library so that I could check it out, they said, "Oh no, that's online now." George Orwell warned us about this. This is what I keep on. I have major issues with. This is why I sound so conspiracy theory. The problem is it's not conspiracy theory if it's conspiracy fact, right? I challenge you this. Go to your local library and find a 1970s print book. Good luck. And when I say 1970s print, I mean you open up the front page and it says published da 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 first, second, third, fourth, fifth edition da 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 book printed, and then you find out no, this one was printed in 2005. So there's a lot of shit in there that could have been changed. You know how many times I've rewritten my book because it got deleted, like parts of it got deleted off of what I was writing because while I was writing, my computer froze, but it didn't look like the cursor froze. And so the cursor kept on going and typing out this part. And then when it finally shut the computer down because the computer recognized, oh, wait. Fucking thing ended up going and deleting a half a fucking chapter. Or a fucking missed click undid a whole fucking chapter. Because I went control copy and then clicked, I control pasted it and then went back and control paste. Or no, I'm sorry, control escape instead of control copy. My brain was on a just out there in left field and I accidentally hit the escape button while holding control and it just delete everything. So a whole fucking, I had to rewrite a whole damn chapter from memory because of the way that electronics work. That's how easily all of that stuff just goes poof, gone. And you want to tell me that we need to get rid of actual print books, on paper books? I don't know about y'all, but matches have not gone to the wayside even though we have lighters. And just to emphasize and proof that point, I got both of them. We have lighters. What do we need matches for? Yet we still got them because they're still fucking useful. My point is that books are too, but the problem comes when our government thinks that doesn't jive with what I want to get done. That doesn't jive with my agenda. And so they go to pull that particular book out of there so that they can make it so you can't get it anymore. Or, it's online so they can change the little subtleties in it. Blame it on Mandela effect. You'll notice that the Mandela effect didn't even start until we had the internet. Food for thought. So, as it comes down to it, the digital is a problem. in and of itself, it is an actual problem because it allows for all of this to happen. There is no hard copy. There is no physical print. There is no struck in stone or struck in freaking iron or, plated into copper or, a printing press ran this. So it's got, the printing press has this on the fucking, the bottom side, the proofing mark on the wooden plate underneath. No. It's so easy to manipulate information nowadays. I mean, it's easier than it was in the 70s, and that's fucking amazing, by the way. You know how much information manipulation happened in the 1970s? I wasn't even alive then, but I studied this shit. My dad used to talk about it all the fucking time because it was like it would never fucking stop. He'd complain over about, a 10-cent fucking increase in gas price because he was having flashbacks of fucking the 1970s not being able to fill up his dirt bike. We'll talk about piss me off. I got to watch that firsthand. We are literally back to 1970s price gap. By relation and inflation, we are at 1970s price gap. What you don't know about the 1970s price gap? Okay. At the time, milk was like what, 5 cents, 8 cents for a quart. I'm just going off of milk right now. Okay, about 5 to 8 cents a quart. Now, that same quart of milk, of course, it's not in a glass bottle anymore. It's in a cardboard container. That same quart of milk is $5. No, 3 and some change, but you get my point. A gallon of gas in 1970, 74, 75 was 68 cents a gallon. What's the price of gas today? Anybody even checked? If you said fucking $5.08 for regular, you're right. That's at the local pump. $5.08 for regular. So then we go and we say, all right, $3.65. That $5.08 for a gallon of gas. Adjust it for inflation back to 1970s. We have 50 cents for a gallon of gas and 3 cents for a gallon of milk. I mean, for a quart of milk. So let's look at this in perspective. What's our price gap at? Exactly where it was in the 70s. Pretty much right there. But oh no, our economy is booming. Thank you, Biden. Man, if I was that full of horse shit, I'd have corn growing out my mouth. Yeah, that's true as well. Now, we're not quite at that point where, song says, but, they were they were flirting with it a few years back, if you remember. They were flirting with that. They were talking about it in Congress back when the Keystone Pipeline got shut down. Well, what are we going to do? Go back to rationing gasoline? That hasn't even been proposed since the 1970s and the Iran oil crisis. The Iran-Iraq oil crisis in the 1970s. And the whole thing is Shah Iran and all that, just like, the Iranian Spring, just all of that confluence to make it so that we were in gas rationing because we didn't have any kind of imports elsewise that were the same, that same kind of influx that could feed what we need. And we were looking at that with the Keystone, and we were looking at that with all these other pipelines that fucking Biden's dumbass went and shut them down, even though they were now operational, for fuck's sake. Keystone was the one that everybody heard about. But what you didn't hear about was the other pipelines this motherfucker went and shut down that were already operational. And then on top of that, in the 1970s, we had a strategic reserve. You know that? We actually had a strategic reserve. There wasn't much of it, sure, because most of it was being used in the Vietnam theater in order to pull our guys out. But yeah, we had a strategic fucking reserve. I'm sure Xi Jinping's sitting there saying, "Thank you, Mr. Biden." You fucking asshole. I'm starting to tend to agree with Tomcat. We need to stop being assholes and start being hemorrhoids. Irritate the assholes. I'm really starting to think on that. Mm-hmm. 1970s was the beginning of economy cars. The so-called economy cars, because let's be clear, there was nothing economical about the fucking Ford Pinto, nor the AMC Gremlin, or for that matter, the fucking what was it? The Datsun, the Z-Rod, or the 280 or the 350 Z's. There was nothing economical about any of those cars except for the fucking Toyota. There was the Toyota Camry, the Honda Civic, and the Datsun. What was that fucking turd? 59 was when they first came out, but they didn't actually get big until 72, 73, and that's when the 69 models were coming in. And they were more economical than most, you know. But it's just like, man. Oh, yeah, the AMC Pacer. Dear God, that thing had no power. Guzzled gas. I mean, they fucking these fucking idiots. It's economical. You'll get 15 miles to the gallon. 15 miles to the gallon in 1970 was insanity. That was insanely good gas mileage. But at the same time, the goddamn car had no guts. I mean, yeah, they had a little get up and go, sure, but they weren't like, let me put it this way. You weren't twisting the chassis on that motherfucker coming off the line. You weren't sitting there and doing hot rod hops down the freaking starting line before getting out there. You maybe like your tires chirped a little bit before you started taking off. And the pickup on those things was so fucking shit. Oh my God. Have you ever been in one of them things? The freaking manual transmission, the first gear is like, fuck me, I could walk faster than this. I mean, I'll put it this way. I will put it this way. Until 2011, there has not been a car that could do over 36 miles to the gallon due to the fact that they were so underpowered, there was no way to actually just get them off. It just couldn't even, you couldn't pull out of your driveway fast enough to avoid collision. It was unsafe. All right. That's because of the size of the motor that you had to have in order to get that kind of economy. You know, I've run 50cc Vespas. I've run fucking 80cc dirt bikes. You know, I've ridden small bikes and cars and quads and this, that, and the other. And they got no balls, man. They don't. There's nothing there. Save for the newest ones. And that's because everything is tuned perfectly. And those are two-stroke, man. Those things are fucking, they've had balls anyways. Now we're talking, you know, four-stroke. It's got no off-the-line kind of power. You know, it needs to get revolutions up before it's actually got some torque to it. That's why there's what we call a power band on four-stroke motors. All right? And that power band is very short. The bigger the motor, the shorter the power band. Be surprised about that. Yeah, that's a good point, Billy. It comes down to a few different things. Materials cost, longevity of materials, and engineered obsolescence. In order to keep you purchasing stuff and in order to keep making revenue come in, they don't have to, but because of the way that they fill their pockets, you know, they kind of have this need to keep you buying shit. So they make it worse. And because they make it worse, but now they've got this newer tech, so-called, that makes it so that you get better gas mileage. Supposedly, it's a better design. So you want to go and buy this to get better gas mileage. But in the end, you end up paying more on the parts and on the vehicle and on the upkeep and the maintenance than you ever would have in gas running the older vehicle. Yummy. Lung butter. Lung cheese. The funniest thing is that if you actually took a tampon, it's fucking absolutely goddamn hilarious how this works. But if you took a lady's tampon and a glass mason jar, and put that tampon in the bottom of the glass mason jar, and you let gasoline go into the glass mason jar, and then air go into the glass mason jar up underneath of that tampon with the gasoline, and then you let the vapors just bleed off of the top of that into your motor, you get what is considered to be the absolute most efficient manner for gasoline to be atomized for burning in a combustion vehicle, a combustion engine. It will literally up your gasoline. You get 400 miles to a tank. If you were to take and utilize that same method, you would up that 400 miles to a tank to 4,000 miles to a tank. It's a literal 10-fold efficiency increase. The guy who came up with that concept, they patented his idea and then they killed his ass. Yeah, I know. Oh no, he ended up having a heart attack under mysterious circumstances. We really, really do not need to freaking jump to too many goddamn conclusions when it comes to that. By God, it's literally, it's almost fucking self-exclamatory. The logical conclusion, the logical next leap from his idea was patented but never marketed, and he was eliminated from the population via, so-called natural causes, which could be, pretty much, by any person who grows flowers could have been committed without even being noticed. If, certain tests weren't done because they have to be requested, because that's how our government works. They have to be requested in order to actually do that test for that particular toxin. You see where I'm going here. It does not take much to be able to jump to that conclusion, even for somebody who is sane. When you have the information, and you see the way that history has outplayed it, it has played out itself over, fucking millennia, but for that matter, for the past 25, 35, 45, 65 years, what have you, it does not take a leap of faith to make that freaking leap of conclusion. To make that assumption, it does not take a leap of faith. It is not conspiracy theory. It might as well be conspiracy fact minus the only fucking piece of evidence that has never been tested. So we don't know if it's evidence or not, because it has never been publicly tested. You see my point? You can't build a conclusion because you don't have the information to build the conclusion. What we have is what people told us, not what we would know for any kind of facts. But there again, it's like Seth Rich and the freaking the Hillary emails. This dude leaks a whole bunch of fucking shit. All of a sudden, shot 4 times. in a back alley somewhere by somebody who was robbing him, even though they didn't take his clothes, which were nice, his shoes, which were nice, his freaking phone, his wallet, his watch, his car keys. Oh, they stole a beer off this guy. Took a beer that he had bought from the freaking the store. Okay, that's a fucking robbery, son. What about all the rest of the shit there? You know, the nice fucking gold or silver watch that he was wearing, the fucking, you know, the wallet in his pocket, the car keys, which were obviously jangly and, you know, would have made noise when he hit the ground. I mean, not a fucking robbery, damn it. Not a robbery. Let's be clear. That ain't a fucking robbery. That's there was deliberate, and there was actually an attempt to mislead. That's what that is. That's an obvious attempt to mislead. It'd be the same as if you found the freaking credit cards and the ID and all that other shit and the wallet, you know, all in a freaking trash can down the street, and his car keys in another trash can down the street further away, and his watch was pawned off at a pawn shop that all of, you know, for some reason had all of the CCTV cameras weren't working. This is what I'm talking about. It's that freaking glaringly obvious. Why do we not have pictures of who did this? Why do we not have any leads in the situation? Why do we not have any of the information as is pertinent to what happened to Mr. Rich? Because that's how they shut you up. That's how they stop these things. That's how they do that. It's just fucking instantaneously. You're done, and we take you out of the equation. We make you look to be like the evil person, or you know, we assassinate your character and then we assassinate you, or we assassinate you and then we delete all of the good that was in your character that's out there in the public sphere. You know, they always do a two-part assassination. It's not just one. You got to look at that, people. You really got to look at that. I have been saying it for decades. Every time that the police arrest me for any fucking thing, every time that the police accuse me of any fucking thing, I am watching over my shoulder all day long because I am afraid I'm actually going to be taken out because of my political views, not because of any particular other reason. I don't fool myself into thinking, oh, well, you know, just because I got a small voice or I talk to just a few people, you know, it's going to make any kind of difference in how the outcome would be in the way that they would treat me versus the way they would treat someone else. When I have this pertinent information and I put it out there and I give voice to it, a lot of the time I am placed under character assassination. You know what a character assassination is? It's slander. Basically, somebody says something that is not true about you and portrays that to the public. To this day, there has never been a retraction published in the Palo Verde Times about the accusations against my person. To this day. Their piece was a political hit piece, and it was a character assassination. Because it did not even follow to what actually happened in the courtroom. The case itself was sealed after the fact. And the reason why it was sealed after the fact, not because it made me look bad at all. Because it made the arresting officer look horrible. So when it comes down to the actual facts of any particular situation, I want you to really look closely. Those cases that end up getting sealed, those are the ones we need to be going and putting out FICA proposals for. Those are the ones we need to be doing the requests for and getting the information out there, because these people are the ones who are being screwed by the government. A lot of the time when the record is sealed, the people are being screwed. Sometimes it's actually not that the people who are involved in this case are being screwed, but it's people like you and me that are being screwed by that case because of its media. The fact that it's out there in the public eye and the way that they want this narrative to go is not how the case is going. So they have to spin it their own way. Even though this person will be out in a couple of months and, be on probation for a few years or something like that. Because, they pretty much won the case. Or there's for a different reason. The case goes on for a couple months. And they're in jail while the case is going on, but then they're out of jail because the case fell through and there's no fucking reason for it. And there's no reason to be on probation or nothing. And so they're a free man, but the public don't know about that. And so now this person has been character slandered, has been character assassinated. And so the public won't deal with them in a regular manner. And they treat them as if they are lesser than, which inevitably creates spite. A lot of the time, it can cause that individual to become attacked and be the direct result of them being physically harmed because of said media coverage. A little revelation for you. My neighbors couldn't look me in the eye when I was living there in Blythe after all that happened. They could not stand there face to face and look me in the eye. The ones who could were not even involved in the situation. The ones who were involved in the situation and actually could talk to me, look me in the eye, had to deal with me on a daily basis anyways. So they just got comfortable with being pieces of garbage. But the fellers involved in the actual situation that caused all the trauma and all that havoc could not look me in the fucking eye. Couldn't stand themselves. Because I was willing to go and stand up and do something that was right, even at my own threat. Even at the threat of death and bodily harm to my own person, by placing myself in that situation where I knew I was probably going to be shot to death by the police. I still gathered up all the weapons, still got all the shit together. I went down there and I made the face-to-face confrontation to make the report, because I knew that there was not going to be enough people in that situation to stop the situation if this person was able to play around and manipulate the police. Because the only way that I was even able to be within his general fucking vicinity is to be smarter than him. And act as if I was his best buddy in the fucking world. Because what he was proposing was something that I would normally shoot someone for. You propose to go and murder somebody to my face, you're lucky if you don't catch a bullet. I'm going to be fair and honest with you. because you shouldn't be selling that to anybody. Oh, I'm gonna go kill this motherfucker. No, you're not. No, the fuck you ain't. You might think you are, or you might just want to get that shit out. Fine, get it out. But don't be sitting there and going getting all hardcore about it, because you're going to end up getting hurt bad. And if you want to go and get somebody else into the mix of it, you might end up catching the wrong end of it, if you know what I mean. You might end up being the person that gets them involved in a whole bunch of shit where they turn around and they finger you out because they're like me and they are a Minuteman. No, Sarah, I did not say snitch. No. There is a difference. I'm not sitting here talking about going and pissing and moaning to the police about somebody going and having a drug cartel or some shit, or running a drug operation, or going and cutting grass under the table or some shit, or carrying guns about themselves. That's nothing. Mm-mm. No, I'm talking about somebody trying to get someone else to commit a murder in their stead. And when they are suggested against, they threaten violence or bodily harm against that individual. And that individual just so happens to be somebody who has been in several situations where they've had to use their brain in order to overcome a situation such as where death or bodily harm was almost a guarantee. Now, I use my own experiences in order to try and negotiate against these atrocities that are committed against us and individuals like us. Okay, good people who are willing to go and actually take the risks in order to protect others. In a nutshell, I've done it my fucking whole life. Whether I was, getting in the middle of a fight, standing in between two friends or two family members, or my dad and somebody at the bar, or fuck whatever. Okay, just being that guy. Like, look, dude, I don't want no trouble. Let's just have, or look, guys, let's not fight. Or this, that, or this. It's just, literally saving a fucking crackhead's life by dragging him around the fucking backside of a goddamn stone wall because a bunch of fucking gangbangers went and robbed a fucking liquor store, and a dude came out fucking hauling around with a 45 and started shooting off rounds all over the place, not giving a fuck where those bullets were going because they tried to rob his ass. That's happened too. Notice how all those instances, I didn't actually fucking draw a weapon. I didn't fucking shoot a gun. I didn't shoot anybody. I didn't fucking stab anybody. Didn't hurt anybody. No, I saved lives. But I'm not allowed to have a modern firearm because of my political views. Because I'm crazy, right? This is what my qualm is with our government. Is that it doesn't matter whether or not you are crazy or not. It's whether you're branded as such. I've met people with fucking, a couple of screws loose. I've met people who, just had a bit of a skewed sense of humor And so they would joke about shit being, but they didn't really believe in that. But because they didn't have the kind of filter of, okay, I'm not supposed to joke about that right here at this time, they got accused of stupid shit. Of being insane or having these traumas or problems or craziness or what have you. It makes it so that they can't be part of society. Yeah, they're fucking out there. They're part of society. Otherwise, I wouldn't have met these people. You see my point? The most time I've ever spent behind any kind of bars is in a jail cell for 6 fucking months while I was handling this bullshit I'm telling you about. So when it comes down to it, I'm not a lawbreaker person. I don't do that shit. But because of my views, the way that I handle myself and the way that I try to go about my life and not harm others, but still, adhere to my responsibilities, I'm branded as crazy. I'm branded as delusional. I would beg to differ on one point. That I am no longer delusional. I do not delude myself into thinking that the government has any say. Does that mean I'm going to go out and fucking try to buy an AR-15 from the local gun shop? No. Hell fucking no. Matter of fact, I am less inclined to do that now that I am fully aware that the government is actually out to fucking get me than I ever was before then. When I thought, oh no, this is all to do with me. This is my fault. This is my problem. I am less inclined to go and purchase a gun now. Because I'm afraid that the government is going to go stomp down my fucking door and shoot me and my dog in our sleep because I have the fucking thing on back order. You see my point? It's a fucking great deterrent. Problem is, assholes, you deterred the wrong people. You see, as I'm saying, you deter the wrong people, and it does no good. So all you see is the criminals. All you see are these people that are going and doing all this harm, because the people who are not criminals, that are not going to go and do this harm, aren't going out with their guns to go and protect themselves because they're afraid to, because of fucking legal ramifications. You see how this works? It comes back to bite you in the ass. You make it a higher opportunity for people to get hurt by legislating away the only way that they may protect themselves in those instances. It's precisely why I can't stand people doing that shit. It's forget about being unlawful. It's illogical. It's irrational to respond with more of what created the problem in the first place. That's the delusion. That's delusional. Saying that we need more gun control because these things are happening. If you'll notice, that air rifle has not jumped off of that wall and shot anything. My pistol has not jumped off of my hip and started going off in fucking random directions. Why? Because they can't. Because they physically cannot do it themselves. Do I need to actually outline this any more for you? Hell, I'll put it to you in terms that I think every American can understand and get behind. It's a quote from Benjamin Franklin. One of the greatest quotes in all of history, I believe. Those who would trade their arms and their liberties for a little promised safety or security deserve neither, and they shall be afforded such. Billy, I would pay extra for the one that did. Yeah, no, I know. Like, that's one of the things our military is just like saying, you know, they're like, I gotta, oh my God, it's a freaking gun that can shoot us. You know, but the joke remains, you know, the military would love that shit. But there's a reason that cooler heads prevail, and, you know, we actually think about this shit. What happens, you know, if things go fucking full Skynet? You know, who's going to be John Connor at that point? You know, we think about that shit. So the question completely remains as if, you know, you see these are not jumping off and going and going ballistic and shooting in random fucking directions all along their own little lonesome. Well, then, the fuck good is the gun control for? Because I'll make it very clear right now. All right, people who are trying to follow the law aren't going out there after they've committed a felony and purchasing an AR-15. They aren't going out there after they've committed a felony that makes it so that they can't have a firearm and trying to purchase a cartridge-based firearm. They're not going to do it because there is too much already stacked against them to do so. The legal ramifications are overwhelming. They're going to do what I did. Purchase an air gun. You know, I have several here. All right. Keep them around me for a good reason. They're going to go purchase an air gun. They're going to go purchase a cap and ball revolver. Or they're going to go purchase a blunderbuss or a musketoon or something. They're not going to go and buy a cartridge-based gun because it's already too logistically unavailable and difficult. If they're going and they're doing it, then they are, A, not trying to follow the law. They're not interested in following the law, and therefore they should have never been let out of prison in the first place, in my opinion, or in most people's opinion, as I've seen. If they're going out and they're getting these guns, they're not doing it legally in any capacity. They're buying them off the street after they've been stolen from Joe Blow, who actually went and bought it legally and did it the right way, and it got fucking jacked from him, you know, because he had to follow all these dumbass fucking bass-ackwards laws that got him in a situation where he ended up getting hurt in a home invasion and, you know, was held hostage to get the combination to his gun safe and, you know, to all of his other goods and stuff like that, and then had his head blown off because he couldn't get to his fucking guns in time to stop the situation from happening. You see how this devolves really quickly. You see how it becomes a problem. You know, when I hear gun control, the first thing I think about is muzzle discipline. Which way is that barrel pointing? Go ahead, you have 5 seconds. Straight up. If for some dumbass reason that air gun discharged in the orientation it is in now, it would do no physical harm to any individual within a 700-foot fucking radius, because the bullet would end up in the wall and the window frame. It's pointed in a safe direction, in other words. This is what I'm talking about with gun control. That's gun control. Muzzle discipline. Trigger discipline. That's gun control. Knowledge of what's your target and what's beyond it. That's gun control. This other bullshit, this isn't gun control. No, this is breaking the law with a pen. Let's be utterly clear about this. The founding fathers would have dragged you motherfuckers out in the street and beat you to death with the butts of their guns. Washington himself would have dueled you with his own sword over it. This is a level-headed man who would have never fucking drawn steel on anybody for any frivolous reason. Would have dueled you with his sword over this. I want you to take a really fucking good look in the mirror and think to yourself, what the fuck am I doing to my children? What the fuck am I doing to the rest of the country for decades to come? Because what you're doing is you are taking away from their heritage. You are destroying their home. You are taking their lives and their decision to defend them. And you're making it yourself. And telling them, no, you just sit there and bleed and die until the police get there and the ambulance shows up, if they show up on time. Because the militia is unlawful. We did away with the militia. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. They didn't do away with the militia. They just made it so that it was voluntary, not compulsory. If you actually read the text, it's voluntary, not compulsory. That's the switch that they made with the Patriot Act. You have to volunteer for it. So the question remains, why are we doing this to ourselves? Why are we allowing this to happen? Why are we allowing this to happen to our countrymen and kin? And I'm not talking about the whole mass shooter bullshit. I'm talking about the gun control situation. Why are we allowing that to happen to our countrymen? Wouldn't you want for your little sister or for your mom to be able to walk down the street, have a little purse pistol or something, just so that they're capable of protecting themselves? You know, yeah, they're not safe. Don't get me wrong. A pistol in your purse is not safe. It should be on your person, but I digress. Okay, whether it's safe or not, making that illegal, that's the problem. Making any laws based upon method or means of keeping, bearing, utilization, furnishment of arms in any manner is unlawful. That legislation itself is an act of treason, and any signatory on it is a traitor by very definition. The fact that they're not willing to levy the charge of treason against these people should be self-exclamatory to you that everything that I have been saying for the past 2 hours is founded 100% in fact. And, well, that's pretty fucking clean bone right there. I think we done picked it to its full. So, since we done got out to Mara, y'all have a good day. I appreciate you. And I thank you kindly for coming by. This is Ye Old Guardsman, and motherfuckers, I'm out.